everyone, it's Cindy. Welcome back to Studioloo. So I am here. I have a couple of tomes coming for you. These books are huge. They are the board game books that I've been working on, the Woodsy board game books. I took a whole bunch of time to just kind of work on them. So this flip through we'll get started with is going to be for Ludo. So I will get the Wondrous Wizard out of here for now, and we'll get started here with Ludo. So this is a mega big book. It's also little, it's a little chunky, and it's really great. So Ludo was made with a fabric cover using this. This is a reproduction vintage board game with these little sprightly characters and bunnies. I hid the little label for the game here because it didn't really serve the book. I made a really fun spine out of the sides of the board game that had the bunny ears, and I sort of shifted each piece so it was a little different, and then added this nice mushroomy stemperia at the back. And then this is the back, the other side of the board game. These little gnomey, spritey little guys. They're so cute. So we have metal eyelets and a nice thick hem tape seam binding tie, and yeah, I tied the game pieces with some waxed linen out here on the edge for a little fun. So let's jump into it. This book is around 282 pages, so it is big. This book is packed with, these are both packed with ephemera, and vintage book like ephemera is there's a lot of it in them. Let's just jump into it. There's 6 signatures in here. So you probably, if you watched any of the videos of me making this, you saw that I used this fabric and I created a pocket inside. There's this little tag here, and in the front we have this cute little sort of woodland thing going on. So this one evokes a little bit more childhood nostalgia as well as magic. Animals, gnomes, wizards, fairies, mushrooms, you name it. I also use the Stamperia Little Things kit in this book and the other one. So that's what this paper is. This is some, I forget her name. I should get that information. But anyways, there's this illustrator. This is a 1930s book, and all of these sort of monochromatic images that you're going to see are from those books. I have a couple of them. And then there's this journal card. This is from the Graphics Fairy. Again, with the vintage book ephemera, this little owl sleeping on this butterflies, mushrooms, little sprites there. I'm going to try not to go into too much detail because this will be a hugely long flip through, okay? So I'll try to be a little concise. Coffee dyed paper. This black and white illustration paper, if you see it, it was about this, like, it's a French children's book about this guy, and he was a wizard who was allergic to mushrooms. And then we have this pocket up here with leaves and one of those little vintage sprites. This dragon here is a journal card that tucks into that little tuck. Hand-dyed paper, some fun scrapbook paper with some sparkly embossing with a bird. A little brown jug there from the House of a Gnome. Some plain and dyed, this is craft paper, dyed paper, dot matrix. Little mushroom pocket with a fairy in here. It's a little postcard. That's, what's her name? Cecily, the Flower Fairies. It starts with a B, her last name I forget. It's on some leafy paper. We have some coffee dyed graph paper. And this is from a little children's book. It says, a centipede was happy quite until a frog in fun said, pray which leg comes after which? This raised her mind to such a pitch. She lay distracted in the ditch, considering how to run. And that cute big frog. It's funny how beetles and creatures like that can walk upside down as well as walk flat. They crawl on a ceiling and climb on a wall without any practice or trouble at all. 49 in market paper, hand-dyed. This is a beautiful book page. Little snippet from a vintage book. And there is another image of the full Ludo board. That was from the game board. This little wreath here. This is a beautiful book page, very magical. More dyed paper and 49 in market. Dry leaves to shuffle in over your shoes in it, wandering pathways to go where you choose in it, always some nice sort of licheny seat in it, and mostly a nut or a berry to eat in it, and earthy and mossy and mildewy smell in it, oh, hundreds more things that you could ever tell in it. The furry moth explores the night, the fish discover cities drowned, and moles and worms and ants explore the many cupboards underground. The soaring lark explores the sky, the gulls explore the stormy seas, the busy squirrels rummages among the attics of the trees. And that is by James Reeves. This is coffee-dyed graph. More of that leafy paper, and we have this tuck with this little gnome with a mushroom, and then a little collaged, this is a Nutria, a little collaged journal card. Some of my hand-dyed paper, craft paper, more scrapbook and hand-dyed, another little vintage book page pocket with this collaged, really funny bird journal card. And this little, this is from another children's book about gnomes, and it's a little pocket there. We have an owl and a little gnome. This says Into the Woods, and that's from Release the Craftin'. And then we have a porcupine here on a little collage journal card. Just tucks in there. Coffee-dyed paper. Then we have, this is a picture that I took actually in, it's just outside a graveyard that I walk in, and some of the trees have been carved with these gnome faces. And then, or I guess they're not gnome, they're tree spirit. And then these are moths and things. This is a collaged fabric journal card and has all sorts of greens and leafy things. This is a part of the game board from Ludo on this beautiful paper. And this is from a vintage children's book. And then this is from the Ludo game board here. Shows these little guys playing Ludo and a little label there. Daddy Longlegs. Don't you think a Daddy Longlegs has a lot of fun using all those stilts to walk and all those stilts to run? Little journal card. More of that beautiful Stamperia paper and this vintage book page for the tuck and the journal card. More of the graph, coffee-dyed graph. This is fairy scrapbooking paper. And over here we have a little collage pocket of a hedgehog dancing with a fly. And these little guys here having a little get-together. Some of my hand-dyed paper. This is a book page from a French graphic novel that has all these kind of elven tree kind of creatures. I believe it's called Arthur or Artur. Hand-dyed paper. This is from a needlework and toll painting vintage book. Another little vintage tuck spot there, and this little children's book image on a journal card. Some field guide. Oh, this is a little tuck spot here, and there's nothing in it, which is really odd for me. That's okay. You know, maybe I'll leave you one spot where you can tuck your own thing. It's okay. This book is so loaded. Coffee-dyed paper. But, you know, the fun thing about it is there is still room for expansion because of this style of, like, cover. It's great. It's actually really comfortable in the hand, really easy to sit and kind of write on. Even though it's just, like, such a fat book, it's quite easy to, you know, use. I like this. I think I'm going to do more of these kind of covers. Sparkly scrapbooking paper, and then these are two little images from a vintage book. More coffee-dyed paper, more field guide, another little vintage tuck spot. This is a little piece that I recently made with my hand-dyed paper. Tuck, tuck, tuck. More of that toll painting book, that Sweet Goose. Cabbage dyed paper, more of this book about these tree spirits, some more hand-dyed paper. This is a little folder from the Graphics Fairy, just a cute little folder that I clipped onto this lovely scrapbook paper, so that just clips on like so with a nice rusty paper clip. Take it off and put it back on. There we go. More coffee dyed graph paper, a little owl tuck on the little things paper, and this little exasperated gnome tag. A little, we have a blackbird and some leaves here in this tuck spot, and then this is like a fun, like kind of foresty folk art bird journal card. This little green dragonfly lace pocket on a book page. We have a dragon and a bunny and all sorts of grass. And then this is another of the vintage book pages journal card. And then this is from the game board. Side tuck. The hedgehog is a little beast who likes a quiet wood where he can feed his family on proper hedgehog food. He has a funny little snout that's rather like a pig's, with which he smells like us, of course, but also runts and digs. Some nice teal colored paper or aqua, and a leafy tuck spot there with more of the little things paper. And this is another of those vintage book page journal cards. A tuck spot from the same vintage book. And then this is a fun little house tag that I made some time ago that I thought went really nice with the blue and the red. And some of my dyed ledger. This is a beautiful picture of a rose, and we have a blue moth there. Coffee dyed paper. This is from a fairy book, and it's like an image of fairies and the fairy king and a swan. Another fairy book image. This is a little chickadee upside down in a coconut. Dancing, fluttering carelessly by under the gleaming summer sky. They haunt the grass as light as air, rising here and dipping there. Lined paper that's been hand-dyed. This fun sky paper from Vicky Boutin. Has dots on the back, and then we made a little vintage book page tuck spot. And this is like a little accordion of these lovely tags with roses on them. Some hand-dyed paper. This is a beautiful coloring book. See these hanging baskets? And over here we have a bird and a treetop. This says carry the key to the secret door. It's like a little maze, so you could color that if you wanted to. More hand-dyed paper. This little cauldron here that has this, it says scared that the magic would wear off. Little tag. More of the clouds and hand-dyed paper. A little bird in the barn rafters. Slugs crawl through grass, watching all the beetles as they scurry past. Slugs crawl so slow, leaving tracks of silver wherever they go. Slugs crawl all along the wall, popping little horns out and make no sound at all. John Kitching. This is a tuck spot that's holding onto this cute little notepad, just of a few different fun little papers. And that just tucks right in. I have a thumb hole there so you can easily see where to put it. And then on back we have this fairy girl. It's from a vintage children's book. Coffee dyed and rose papers. This little vintage sprite and some yellow ledger. This is from a book called Wizardology. It's this lovely owl, and I made a belly band from it. And added this fun tag of this little green bearded gnome at a fireplace. Inside of this little fireplace. A little tuck spot with this journal card of these little frog and toad. More of that tealy paper. A lovely little pocket down here with minte paper. And then this is a little fish and a water lily. A little journal card from a vintage children's book. And here we have the sun. This is a beautiful book page. A little vintage book page tuck spot on the Stamperia paper. Furly curly, what a tail, tall as a feather, broad as a sail. Where's his supper? In the shell, snappy, cracky, out it fell. And that is a journal card. These are both from the vintage book, the tuck spot and the journal card on the Stamperia paper. This is some beautiful handmade paper from the papertrail.ca, and then a tuck spot made from a vintage children's book with one of my laminated maple leaves. This red maple leaf looks really pretty with the bluey green of the paper. Just a little something different. And I love this little gnome guy here. There's another little tuck spot that's empty that you could stick something in, and he is just waiting for his supper, and he's the cutest little thing. Then we have these two folks looking down on something. This is actually from the Elves and the Shoemaker, and they're looking through the window at the elves making shoes. But I thought they would go really nice with a little fairy kind of, you know, journal card like that. Well, I have been trying for a year, maybe more, and still I can't stand with my head on the floor, by Eileen Fisher. Eggs are laid by turkeys, eggs are laid by hens, eggs are laid by robins, eggs are laid by wrens. And then there's some eggs there, and more of the ledger and the sky paper from Vicky Boutin. This is a belly band from the vintage book, and we have these gnomes that are like looking like the sky is falling in this journal tag. And it was fun to have some things tucking in like the side that way. I don't often do that. More of my hand-dyed paper and a rose. Gnomes working in the woods, little mouse there, some manila paper. Tuck spot here, or belly band of a gnome with some mushrooms, and then this journal tag. And back here we have a little rat who's knocking over a bottle of ink. This little girl gnome and her little mouse friend. Dyed paper and a little tuck spot from the vintage book on this gold daisy page, and a little bunny on a log with some mushrooms. These are more of those tree spirit images and some mushrooms. To the tea party, these little bunnies, all from vintage children's books. Another piece of dyed paper and another little gnome girl page. This hilarious little gnome. I love this illustration. It's so very different. And this is a concept art piece that I did a long time ago. It was a collection of peacocks and mushrooms, little journal card, some manila paper, and a rose. Another image from the vintage book, and some green hand-dyed paper. Another folder here, the bird. This is from the Graphics Fairy. It's just clipped on to the Vicky Boutin paper with the clouds. And the yellow hand-dyed ledger. Eggs are laid by eagles, eggs are laid by quail, pigeons, parrots, peregrines, and that's how every bird begins. Mary Ann Hoberman. We have some eggs and birdies there. I like a wood wherever you go to it. There's always something you didn't know in it. Roots and moss and gnarled bits of stick in it, shiny backed beetles that hurry and kick in it, toadstools and fungus, grubs or a worm in it, odd little insects that scamper or squirm in it. This big pocket is from a vintage book, and it has this bunny tag inside. I love doing these little short chubby tags. They're so fun. This is from another children's book. And more of the handmade paper from the paper trail. A little worried sprite here sitting on a bench. And this little fairy, she's actually stitching these bees and flowers. This little tuck spot here for these bunnies. And again with this funny little leprechaun-y kind of gnome. He's so cute. He has like a diamond in his hand, I think. And then this is the Pussy Willow on this beautiful mushroomy paper. That's my favorite page from that Stamperia kit. And a little belly band from a vintage book. The city mouse eats bread and cheese. The garden mouse eats what he can. We will not grudge him seeds and stalks. Poor little timid furry man. Christina Rossetti. A wonderful poet. Blue hand-dyed paper. And some daffodils and other flowers. A little brown rabbit popped out of the ground, wriggled his whiskers and looked around. Another wee rabbit who lived in the grass popped his head out and watched him pass. They both, the wee rabbits, were hoppity hop. This is a children's book page from the gnome book. Look at the beautiful foxglove and the gnome and the little mouse. Coffee dyed paper. This is a pocket here with a squirrel and an avocado dyed index card. Another beautiful book page. And here's a wolf sort of looking at this girl as she's running through the weeds. More coffee dyed graph. This is a little belly band with a wolf, mushrooms, and a bunny and a pine tree on that gold daisy again. And this little card just tucks in here. Another image from that vintage book, and some more dyed paper. A little, is this a tuck? Yeah, well, it's sort of a half page of this gnome bird and the prints on the horse, and then you flip it, and then there's the tuck here. It says Dance of the Gnomes. And inside we have a little fairy postcard. And a couple fun little bits to write on. And the center of the signature is just these beautiful deer and a boar and a lynx and all sorts of animals in the woods. These are some little wintry gnome guys running for their life. And then a bunch of, this is actually a depiction of Snow White and the Seven Dwarfs, but they're very gnomey, even though their hats are down and not pointing up. Another snippet from the Ludo game board. This little belly band of this woodland gnome. And then this is a vintage postcard from 1917. Dear Jean, the girls are going to Drumbo. And so on. I'm not going to read the whole thing, but it's Mrs. L. Hillier of Plattsville, Ontario. And this is the cute little, it says it's by Fred Spurgeon. It says, all is not yet lost. And I like that message. I thought that was very cute for this book. More coffee dyed graph. This is a little tuck spot for a little Rolodex card that I did some mixed media on with flowers. Beautiful book page. There's a little robin hiding right here. And some coffee dyed paper. Another beautiful book page from a children's book. Some green dyed paper. If millipedes wore shoes, just think of all the fuss to do up all the laces in time to catch the bus, by Leslie Churchman. It's not a bit windy, it's not a bit wet. The sky is as sunny as summer, and yet little umbrellas are everywhere spread, pink ones and brown ones and orange and red, and that's called toadstools. Some dyed paper. A little gnome girl tuck spot for this little knitting ladybug under a flower. And then this little tuck spot's made from a vintage children's book as well. The beautiful gnome paper, and then this little frog card. And then this image, oh, I love this so much. This is from a book, I think it was called Sticks, Stones. And this was the cover of the book, and I just love this guy and this frog. Some dyed paper. Today, as I went out to play, I saw a brown frog in the way. I know that frogs are smooth and green, but this was brown. What could it mean? I asked a lady in the road. She said it was a spotted toad. Mary Kay Robinson. And I appreciate this because I don't understand how people confuse frogs and toads. They are so very, very different. And this garden paper from Simple Stories, I believe. And then this is vintage book page. Here is more from the Ludo game board, little tuck spot. Seldom seen yet often heard, the cuckoo is an idle bird. It lays its egg in another's nest. The foster parents do the rest. So cute. And more dyed paper, 49 in market paper. More dyed paper. This is a really cool fairy book page. Here in cool grot and mossy cell we rural fays and fairies dwell, though rarely seen by mortal eye, when pale moon, ascending high, darts through yon limes, her quivering beams we frisk it near these crystal streams. And then this lovely castle here, some green hand-dyed paper. Hoppity, 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 hop, till they came to a wall and had to stop. Then both the wee rabbits turned themselves round and scuttled off home to their holes in the ground. As little Jenny Wren was sitting by the shed, she waggled with her tail and she nodded with her head. She waggled with her tail and she nodded with her head, as little Jenny Wren was sitting by the shed. More scrapbook paper and hand-dyed paper. This beautiful flower, it's called Mr. Marshall's Flower Book. It's a beautiful book. Cabbage dyed and scrapbook paper. This little tuck spot here. This is an image of Snow White from a children's book. And then this cute little mouse and some chickens. And this journal tag. There is a bird bath on our grass. I wait to watch it as I pass, and see the little sparrow things stand on the edge with flapping wings. They give each eye a merry wink, and stoop to take a little drink. And then, before I'm fairly gone, they bathe with all their clothing on. Is a caterpillar ticklish? Well, it's always my belief that he giggles as he wiggles across a hairy leaf. By Monica Shannon. Green hand-dyed paper, more of those little tree spirits. They're kind of coming down in this walnut down the river here. More hand-dyed paper, and this is 49 in market paper. There we go. And this little cauldron is holding on to this little guy. He's another of those little tree spirits. More hand-dyed paper, a tuck spot here with this lovely little gnome journal card. And then this is a hawk in some leaves here, and it's on the Simple Stories garden paper as well. And then this little card with a cute little door on it. Oh, and there's a frog on the back. Of course, there has to be a frog on the back. Another of the little tree spirits there. And this again is from Snow White. Just a beautiful fold out of these lovelies. And then here I've got another tag with my signature and the date. And these little sleepy gnomes, it's all done now, so it's time for them to go to sleep. So that is what has come of this beautiful Ludo game board, and I completely love this book. I think it's a wonderful little book to take with you anywhere and write about your journeys, and go into the woods maybe even. It's very magical. I think a child would certainly love it, or somebody like me who has very much stayed in touch with their childhood, and anyone who likes naturey kind of things, gnomes, magic. I'm really happy with how this book turned out. I love the roundy kind of feel it's got. I think it would be a lot of fun to work in. I'm probably going to have a hard time saying goodbye to this one, actually. So thank you for joining me. If you're seeing this video, that means that this has been posted to first my Patreon, then my Etsy. And the best way to follow what I post is to follow me on Etsy. I will be doing another flip through of The Wondrous Wizard, which is sort of in the same vein as this book. So you can find all my links down below. And otherwise, have a great day. I will talk to you soon. Bye for now.